How was your first day at Oracle? So,
It was not a good experience, to be honest. I mean, I wanted it to be offline. I had started doing my DSA back from first year. So
mhm.
I started with this platform called HackerRank. It's a good opportunity for you to make an introduction as short as possible. I think you have made a bad resume, but still, thoda you have to improvise and answer something. I think that's the only way.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ajab Interview Ki Gazab Kahani. Today we have AB with us, who is an applications engineer at Oracle. So, AB, tell us something about yourself.
All right. Thank you, Gunjan, for having me. And hey, everyone, this is AB, and I'm an applications engineer at Oracle. I graduated in 2022 from IIT Guwahati, and I was in the Department of Maths and Computing over there. I have quite a few good experience in college related to, building good software and with the different companies, freelancing, doing a lot of internships and all. I mean, it's obvious the career I chose in software engineering, thus, and currently I'm at Oracle. So yeah, that's a brief intro for me.
Yeah, I mean, there were quite a lot of things that you did. So that was great. So now tell us about your high school life. How were you in 11th and 12th grade? Like, were you academically good or something?
Yeah, I mean, 11th and 12th was the pre-JEE period, so basically हर कोई prepare ही कर रहा था and मेरा कोई background नहीं था previously for JEE. I was good in studies. I had, I guess, some 98% in boards and ICC, but yeah, it's okay. But JEE was entirely different thing. I started out in 11th, had a rough year, almost half a year and 8 months, let's say, and उसके बाद थोड़ा streamline हो गया preparation. I did well in JEE. I kind of believe I could have done better, but that's fine. And then I got into IIT Guwahati. I joined maths and computing, and basically it was a good branch. A lot of computer science, and we had some mathematics, some pure maths, and some finance stuff. If you know the course of maths and computing, it's like that. So yeah.
You had 98%, and that's like so much. And even your J score must have been great as well because you got into IIT. So that's wonderful. Now tell us, how did it change once you got into IIT? So were you still studying or did you do anything else as well?
So, yeah, matlab, that is I think, a good confusion which is there outside, especially for people who are preparing for JEE. Ki even our teachers used to tell us is that you prepare अच्छे से and अच्छे rank clear and then it will be chill, life. It's never chill. Let me clarify that. So, thing is, I believe जितना exposure था uh, back during JEE days, उससे काफी ज़्यादा exposure था. There were लॉट ऑफ गुड स्टूडेंट्स फैसिलिटीज बहुत सारी थी अपॉर्चुनिटीज बहुत सारी थी प्रेशर था क्योंकि एवरीवन वाज डूइंग गुड सो yeah I think overall it was good. I mean it was up to my expectations and life in IIT was nice. Not like you never had to study पढ़ाई I think manageably कम था like you could manage it within the last 1 week. It was not easy but yeah I mean if you put efforts in the last 1 2 weeks before the exams it was always good and there were people who studied pure time but yeah and then they missed out on some other things but yeah you had to kind of manage your time accordingly.
And you also said you were into freelancing. So how did it went? Like
Yeah I have
where
done so I would say that I started with freelancing as a first year ke baad. I think it was in the third semester August mein mostly. So I got this client through a senior of mine जिसको he wanted some job done with some hospital application, if I'm not wrong. So he was basically a doctor. He was trying to, he had his own big clinic kind of, and he had a lot of doctors working under him. So he kind of wanted to manage as a hospital management application kind of thing. So that was when I got into it for the first time. I like the money, of course, but yeah, I like the experience as well. Working with a client and getting requirements. It was not very easy, which I later realized because if you contribute to open source or if you work in these organizations, तो requirements थोड़े specific होते हैं and it's pretty easy to get things done. इसमें it's a little messy because there is one person or a group of persons who are managing and उनके expectations हमेशा match नहीं करते. But हाँ, so yeah, after that I started getting a lot of offers ऐसे बाहर से as well, especially after my experience with MLH and content creation वगैरह के बाद भी. So I still keep getting a lot of them. I got one yesterday, but I didn't take it up. But yeah, but anyways, yeah, I think that was how it all started back in August.
So you had also done internships, I guess. So tell us about your first interview for an internship, or was it without an interview?
Okay, so my first internship was with interview. So back in second year, it was before MLH, yeah. So in there, we got an email in our college email that MIT Media Lab was kind of looking for interns to work with one of their projects. So I kind of got in touch with one of the PhD students over there, whose professor was. It was a
Mhm.
research intern basically.
Yeah.
So he helped me out with the internship process, and yeah, I had an interview, but it was more of a dev kind of role. So it was a back and forth question answers about React, and we had some demonstration of the previous applications which I had built. So he was asking questions about how I did it, and then we went ahead with the interview experience that you would expect. But yeah, that was what my first internship interview experience was like. Okay.
Yeah, you said a lot, you were into IIT, and it is a dream for almost everyone who is preparing to be an engineer and who is preparing for JEE. So tell us about your life at IIT.
Okay. Uh, yeah, all right. So I think the first thing that you get in your first year is a lot of, you have a FOMO kind of thing because you see, I mean, you don't really know how things are happening, but you see a lot of seniors getting placed because हम join जब करते हैं within 4 months you have placements, and you see like, oh, इनका वहाँ लग गया, ऐसा हो गया, this package and all, and we're like, oh, okay, we'll also do something, but we're really small at that time, so it's all confused, and you kind of don't know how to go ahead with it. But I think in the first semester itself, after a few months, we had people guide us, so our seniors were very helpful with that, and we started doing DSA and CP and all that. So that thing I think continued till the placements. We had breaks in between depending on how things were situated. I mean, how things were going on for you. Suppose CC का internship लग गया, so they take a break for like 6 months, and then if they need to get a placement, then they get started with DSA once again. So that's the on and off thing that we had. Other than that, I would say the opportunities in terms of job opportunities for placements and also off campus placements, those are pretty good. uh, I think off campus obviously needs you to have, uh, you need to have a little bit of knowledge and you need to be good. But on campus pay, there are a lot of companies that come up. So even though some people are not that good into DSA and they are not very well thorough through everything, they still find good job opportunities and this is kind of the reality. I think a lot of people will tell you this as well. So if you leave out the companies that come on day one, two, and so on, uske baad wale, you have more companies than you have students. And that's the best way to put it, kind of. So yeah, they get hired. So that's one thing in terms of job opportunities. But yeah, I think people here are also good. It's not like 90% of them are wasting their time and 10% are working. So yeah, I think it was overall a good experience. In terms of ACADS, it was okayish. Like it was not very easy per se, as I mentioned, but yeah, it was manageable. So yes,
Now that you're working at Oracle, how was your first day at Oracle? So,
it was not a good experience, to be honest. I mean, I wanted it to be offline, but it
yeah.
was online. Again, I actually interned at Oracle in my third year, so I kind of knew what the onboarding session or all these things, how they happen. So that's always great. I mean, Oracle ensures it's pretty smooth. We have around, I think, a long period of training, so in which you really don't have to do anything. You can just listen to the lectures and work on problems or whatever your manager wants you to do. But yeah, it's not a pressure kind of period during that. So yeah, onboarding was pretty good. First day, I don't know, we were just introduced to things like what is Oracle, and we had a lot of games and all, whatever was possible online. I think they managed to do it.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I would say my proper first wow wala day was when I came to office,
Hmm.
because उस टाइम पे it was raining heavily. बैंगलोर में बहुत बारिश हो रही थी, but somehow I managed to come over. I decided कि आज जाना है office, and the buildings and the entire interiors and all and the facilities, it was way too amazing. And I got lost. Like पहले तो I couldn't find where to go because so many buildings and such a big campus. But yeah, gradually, and I still get lost. If you put me in another floor, in another block, I'll get lost because I don't know. So it's a maze. You have to figure your way out. And I think it's the same thing for a lot of people. So yeah, overall nice experience. The office is good, the culture is good, and the first day was good.
So you basically knew what the process was going to be since you were already interning with Oracle. But how did you prepare
Yeah.
before the interview? So in the third year, how did you prepare for that?
Uh, I think it was a standard preparation. So basically, I had started doing my DSA back from first year. So
Mhm.
I started with this platform called Hacker Rank. I'm pretty sure you've heard about it. So Hacker Rank pay, when I was good enough, it has this thing called Project Euler, which is like a set of pure maths questions, which are a little tough to solve if you do with C++. So that gave me a good fundamental foundation, you can say. Then I shifted to Code Chef and Code Forces and Ad Coder. I was doing these three simultaneously. So contest though and keep going. And finally, before the interview, I did interview bit complete career and I did some good amount of lead code. Lead code complete karna is not possible, but yeah. So I did quite a good number of questions in lead code, and I think all of that helped. I was not familiar with all of them, but I was at least familiar with the ki kaise karna hai, the approach and all. So yeah, it was not very difficult, I would say, to crack those questions once I was there. Yeah.
There are a few questions that are like common in all the companies, all the processes that we go through. So some of them are introduce yourself or
Okay.
tell us about your strengths and weaknesses. So how do you think one should answer those questions?
So introduce yourself. I think when it is asked to you, it's a good opportunity for you to make an introduction as short as possible, because I have seen a lot of people cram up these 300 words answers and they have these long. I did this in college, that in college, everything that is on your CV, ये सब कुछ. So the person has already gone through your CV before the interview. He might have also known a little bit about you beforehand, वो पढ़ के at least. So boring him with stuff that he knows already, it's kind of not good. So I think a brief introduction with, maybe if you have a catchy line or something, the good answer would be to be genuine with what you're going to say. Not to use any hacks. Yeah, I'll say my strengths as my weakness and vice versa. फिर कुछ advantage मिल जाएगा. Nothing happens with that. So just be genuine and say, and don't say anything that you know will put you into trouble, of course. It's like, yeah, I'm never able to do my work in time, so they won't hire you. Like, but yeah, something that you think might be relevant and okay. ऐसा.
Yeah. And you've also said that you were doing freelancing and all.
Yeah.
So since you were already freelancing, has it helped in any way during the interview process because you already knew how to talk with clients and everything? So did it help somewhere?
Sure. I mean, all of that helps, right? So why else would I have done it? Like, I would say that in the work that I did during freelancing was useful because a lot of so my internship at Oracle was based on JavaScript. It was mostly JavaScript and some configuration, so Node.js and configuration. So I was pretty familiar with JavaScript by then. That kind of helped me because again, I was contributing to a lot of projects. I was doing this freelancing stuff and also talking to people. I believe that's something I learned in this process as well, because every time you meet a client, it's like he's a completely different person, or you don't know the person at all. So it kinds of puts you into an interview situation, and you also have an equal chance of getting rejected. Although it may or may not matter to you. If I'm getting rejected in an interview, it might matter to me. For freelancing, it may not. But still, the same experience that you have to impress a person in a short duration of time, and you have to put your pitch and get things done basically. So I think yeah, it did help.
And I guess being a content creator has also helped build the confidence because then you actually know how to talk, how to present yourself.
I think yes. So to be honest, after coming to Bangalore, मैंने थोड़ा सा pause लिया हुआ है. I have stopped making videos on YouTube, but in the first half of this year, I mean of the last year, 2022, I made quite a few videos, and initially बहुत camera shy and all these things were there. So I was like looking at my own videos and laughing कि क्या कर रहा हूँ मैं, ये नहीं करना चाहिए था. But okay, with time things started to get a little bit more comfortable. I could feel like I was talking to the audience who were listening to me. So वो वाला attitude develop होना I think was pretty good. And yeah, it helps in interviews. It helps in real life as well. You make a lot of friends. You talk. I mean, in the office, suppose you meet your colleagues. So they're completely random people, and somehow you can bond with them. So I think all of this helps in the long run. Being a little bit of extrovert, thoda sa baat karna, and having that, it gives you kind of edge over others who are a little reserved, making relationship and all. Yeah.
So you talked and you gave us a few tips about the basic questions. But how do you tackle questions that you don't know of? So if the interviewer asks you something and you don't know the answer, how do you tackle it?
So things are a little different if you're having a technical round and you're basically being asked to solve a problem and you don't know how to do it. I think the best approach in that scenario would be to kind of not lie and waste your and the interviewer's time, because a lot of people, if they don't know things, they'll try to come up with some random
Yeah.
answers which they know is wrong, and they are
Mhm.
wasting their own time as well, because उसके बाद भी questions है करने को, ऐसा नहीं कि this is the only question they have to do. So preferably ask him, I mean थोड़ा सा, whatever observation you have or whatever answers दिमाग में आ रहे हैं, you can tell it to the person, to the interviewer, and ask him for hints कि I am not able to think anything out of this, out of this much. So he will give you some hints, try to use that and try to solve it. And if you're not able to solve and you have no clue, then basically just the interviewer will find it out. I mean, if you're being honest with him, you'll understand it. You'll either move on to the next question, या फिर वो solution बता देगा तुम्हें to some extent, like पूरा 90% solve करके बता देगा, and then he will ask you to do the rest. So that question is gone, yes, but your time is saved, and the interviewer also does not hate you for wasting the time. So that's about the technical round, I would say. बाकी जगह पे, if you let's say in HR round, there is nothing like don't know. You will have to come up with an answer. Sometimes the answers might be embarrassing. So I believe उससे पहले, if before going to the HR round, you should have a thorough reading of your resume. Just a example, like if you are not in a technical branch and someone asks you a question, ki, why are you trying to be going into software engineering if you're not a technical person, or you entirely have a chemical science का background, let's say. So you should be prepared beforehand कि मेरे को क्या आंसर देना है इस केस में. So you can make your own story अब कि मेरे को फर्स्ट ईयर में ये दिखा था, and maybe it's a true story as well. Not saying that you have to cook something up always, but हाँ. So prepare beforehand in for the HR rounds. I think most cases में हो जाता है वो. Otherwise it's your presence of mind कि उस point पे क्या बोलना है मुझे for that. Baki, if they ask you something from your resume that's not something you know, then I think you have made a bad resume, but still, thoda, you have to improvise and answer something. I think that's the only way to go. Otherwise, you can just tell him that I don't know. Because that's a yes or no, do or die situation. Ki nahi aata to kya hi bolu. So, kind of. I think you should make your resume in a way that you know everything what's on your resume. So, that's the thing. Although, like, you may or may not need it, but you have access to tons of software, tons of paid software, that even though hamisha things are not in your favor, that is also one of the things that will help you stay motivated, because things cannot always be wrong. But yeah, it was not difficult for me to remember it, but I didn't like the experience. It's a tough thing, like you don't understand what's going on.